Welcome to Rough Cuts, a show by creators for creators. Today, we have our two go-to people, but at the same end of the table for once. We got Jermaine and Dylan, and you got me, Josh. Today, we're gonna do something kind of a bit different. We vaguely went over it in one of our previous episodes. We're gonna go over the first short film that I produced, ever. We already watched it a couple times. We have some questions. If you want to watch it, you can go ahead and click a card or description or wherever the hell we end up doing. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But before that, can you please do me a favor and tell Dylan how great he looks today? Jermaine, compliment him.
Dylan, you look amazing today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's
I really put in the work.
I walked in and it was a disco ball of just beauty.
A disco ball of beauty. That's what Dylan is.
Yeah.
I didn't even do my nails.
Oh my gosh.
All right, anyway.
But if you like this content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out our other stuff. We have a lot in store for you. So, let's get started. The first film that I ever produced that Jermaine helped me on. Dylan, this is right before you joined in with me.
Yeah.
The first short film I ever made is called Fresh Air. Thank you for that, I think.
But yes.
Yeah, it's called Fresh Air. And I guess to start, I'll just talk about the conception of it. So, it comes from a place of depression. Literally, that is the reason why I wrote Fresh Air.
As many things do.
Yes, I was depressed. I was overwhelmed with schoolwork, like a pile of homework. I had been so busy that my apartment that I was living in was really dirty, and I felt so stressed. I just could not be in my apartment, so I just got up and left and just walked around for a bit, and then I just took some deep breaths and was like, oh, yeah, I'm okay. And then I was just thinking to myself, yeah, I can make this a short film or something.
And thus, it was born.
So yeah, I went back and I wrote down the idea, and I came up with this idea in late 2018,
Yeah.
maybe December of 2018, I want to say.
It was close towards the end of
Your college.
your semester.
The first semester, I believe. Yeah. I came up with the idea at the end of my first semester, which was the winter, fall semester, whatever the fuck, and I didn't do anything with it. It took me a while to even go back to the idea and finish writing it.
Didn't it take us close to a year?
Yes, we didn't actually shoot it until I think. Okay, that's what's crazy about it is that I wrote it when I was still in school, and then we didn't shoot until I was not in school anymore.
Yeah.
It was your first semester out of school.
Yeah, because I took a semester off from going to school and be like, okay, I'm just gonna create stuff. I'm gonna just freelance and see what happens. So I did that, and then I made Fresh Air, and that was a year later. But
You didn't release it till 6 months after shooting?
yeah, I didn't release it until 2020.
Oh, right. That's crazy.
So the whole film itself is only maybe 5 minutes long,
Yeah.
and it took 2 years to make because of my own, expertise. I'm such an artist. No, I'm just lazy. That's all it was. I was just being really lazy.
And what do we have to show for it?
My laziness.
Fresh air.
It's
Yeah,
Fresh
we have
Air.
Fresh Air.
I like it. I think it's a neat idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not the
excuse me.
best executed, but,
How dare you? I'm kidding. It's funny though because I feel as a filmmaker, a lot of times whenever you make a film, that my alarm is going off for a second because it's time to practice music. But I feel as a filmmaker, a lot of times, we worry about the interpretation of our scripts. If it comes off the way that we're intending on it being.
Definitely.
And it's funny because Fresh Air is one of the only things I've made where people just 100% get what I mean. Like, oh yeah, the dude's depressed. Like every time someone's watching, like, oh yeah, it's depressed. Like I get it. You just need fresh air. And I'm like, wow, I feel like that kind of says something about my writing if this is the only thing people understand and there's no dialogue in it really.
Right.
So I took that into consideration, and it helped me learn a bit. But I don't know. Let me pass it on to Jermaine, who was the cinematographer for it.
Yeah.
Tell me some highlights about it, making the creation of Fresh Air.
Well, the creation of Fresh Air was. It was quite simple, but also very complicated in a way.
Mhm.
So most of the shots that we did was mostly static.
Yeah.
But those static shots, especially in an outside environment, was hard to get due to lighting.
Yeah, we shot in the middle of summer.
Yeah, and it was a bright,
it was
bright
so
day.
hot. It was actually really
We were
hard to
sweating
do.
bullets. It was
Let me guess, you had no water?
like always.
Yeah, we always forget water. For some
Yeah.
reason. Which is weird because I remember
It's
we
like
brought a
it's essential
fold-out
resource.
table though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made sure to bring
That
a
was just in my
fold-out
car.
table, but we didn't bring water.
Yeah.
But that's just dumb of us.
We do that quite often.
Yeah, because we're geniuses.
Evil geniuses.
Uh,
I
It-
was wondering, like, how long did it take to get your room that messed up? Didn't it take
Oh,
like a
oh my
an
God.
hour?
It took like a week for him to gather
okay,
stuff.
yeah. So what I was doing, I like scheduled the shoot beforehand, and I was like, all right, I need to mess up my apartment. So I purposely kept eating out, and anything I ate out, I would like, take the container, clean it out as much as I could, and I would just put it in a box. And I just kept it for an entire week. And then like the day of, or even the day before, anytime I ate food, like, oh, I had a bowl of cereal like the morning before shooting, I just left the bowl out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna use this.
Yeah.
So then we had all that trash I collected, and then we just scattered it all over my apartment. We like took clothes from my closet and threw it on the floor. Took a bunch of random shit I just had and just put everywhere. And it was so funny because I remember everyone was talking about like, oh God, I feel so anxious because of all this trash and everything. I was like,
Right.
then it worked.
Yeah.
But it was,
Yeah, we got a lot of B-roll on a lot of the trash.
oh yeah.
That
Crap ton of shirts.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Those weren't all yours, probably, right?
Mostly, some of them were actually the actors. I asked them to bring a couple different ones, so I just threw
Yeah.
it in the pile with it. And like, it's funny because in the original draft of that, for some reason, the pile of shirts, I told them to get this one specific shirt out of the pile, and I had put it at the bottom of the pile, and he kept going, and it took him a full minute to find the shirt. So in the original edit, I had like a 50-second clip of him going through the shirts, and as I was watching, I was like, "This is a bad idea." So I just like cut it down to like right before he gets it.
Fresh shirt.
Yeah, fresh
Fresh.
shirt, fresh air. The shirt's not fresh though. I'll
No.
say that.
It
no.
was
That's rank.
yeah.
Yeah. It was funny though because I had him wear a hoodie because, I thought it would be interesting to like have the visual of him opening the jacket, kind of like, oh, he's relaxing a bit, so the jacket becomes open. But it was also not like it was a fall jacket in the summer, so he was sweating. And I remember in between takes, we were like literally wiping him off with a towel.
Yeah. We would have to tell him, dude, take your jacket off real quick.
Yeah, we'd tell him
like-
to take it off in between. Cause like, hey, you're sweating too much. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna look weird. Cause we also put makeup on him too to make him look more depressed. But that was funny.
Yeah, you see, makeup is the true way to depression.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to make you look more depressed than you ever will be alone.
So you had some questions for Josh, I believe.
I
right?
do. I
Oh.
do. So, my first question,
Mm-hmm.
if you could do any improvements onto Fresh Air,
Ooh,
like if we were to revamp it now, what would you do differently?
that's tough.
Everything. Like, okay.
Would you like completely rewrite it?
So, it's not a bad film, but it's definitely very much a student film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like clearly a film of somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience making films. Because, at the time, I had made like maybe one other, actually no, I think that was like the first actual film I made. Everything else was kind of just like oh, a bunch of clips I got together and put into something. That was the first narrative thing I made.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, I have the script, and the script is more of like it's almost like an essay more than it is the actual script because of how I wrote it. And like, I had a shot list, which was really just bullets. It was just random bullets, and we didn't actually do much of it because
Yeah.
like for one of the things that I wanted to do, like I had this visual idea where the main character, as he's like traveling through, leaving his apartment to getting to this like park or whatever to get his breath of fresh air. Originally, what I wanted to do was I wanted it to be like a kind of like static shot in which you see him walking across the screen, but then like that background changing behind him, but he's still walking, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Okay.
So like somehow the background is dissolving to something else, but it's still like a still shot kind of.
Yeah, so like more like you see like he's just walking, same speed, but he's like going from industrial, residential area to like less and less like human contact to just being out in a field eventually. Originally,
Yeah.
he was supposed to be out in the middle of the country in a field and take the breath, but we just ended up doing it at like a random pond at a park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'd probably need like dolly wheels or a track to like
Yeah,
make
that
it
was
as still as possible.
that was kind of part of the problem is that like I didn't know how to do that at the time.
Right.
And my only thought process for some reason, I remember this, I was thinking to myself, I need to get a tape measure and just measure out the same distance from the camera to him every single time in between these things. And I was like, yeah, that's how I'm going to do it.
Damn.
We didn't do it. We didn't
No,
end up doing it.
we didn't.
So if I ever redid it, I probably would want to do that, honestly. I would want to do that. And I don't think I'd make it longer. I think it was actually pretty good as is. Like, it kind of gets the point across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say that, like, I don't know. Because to me, it's nothing more than it would be, like, than a student film.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could, like, turn this into something that I could put into, like a really professional competition or, like, a film festival or something like that.
Yeah.
It
I
feels,
think we could just improve on the quality of certain stuff. Like a lot of the day chefs are obviously overexposed,
Yeah.
but they still looked decent from what they were.
I feel like we could throw in more pan shots and more
Yeah.
close-ups when it comes to him being inside the house.
yeah, see, like, show more, like, emotion
Yeah.
and expression. Yeah.
And if we had a different set, like a different apartment like this,
Well,
we'd
I mean,
have more to work with because that one was smaller.
the point of it was that, like, I did kind of like that it was smaller and kind of, like, not as, like, decorated.
Made it feel compact and kind of
Yeah,
empty.
because I feel
It's
like,
like a dorm.
it's, yeah, like a dorm. That's kind of what I was going for, is, like, that kind of dorm life experience where you're kind of, like,
Each
away
dust, Yeah.
from home. You're kind of, like, figuring life on your own, and then you kind of have to go through that whole, like, this stuff is piling up now.
Mm-hmm.
I have like responsibilities, but like, which is funny because, Jermaine plays the roommate in that.
Yeah.
Um,
I make a lot of cameos.
and another cameo is that he's actually the breath of fresh air at the end. Him drinking water and him waking up, breathing. That's all Jermaine.
Yeah. That's,
Because I needed the audio, the ADR afterward, but I couldn't get the actor. So Jermaine he was over, so I just recorded him, and then I just pitched it up a little bit, and it kind of worked.
So, what was the hardest part about the post production? Was it the ADR?
The ADR wasn't bad. It was actually kind of fun to do, honestly, just because like that was the first time I did ADR. So I kind of just like, I was just messing with trash and stuff. Like I had my rat, and I just like cut the mic as close as I could to her as she was like walking around a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like the ADR wasn't bad, but I would say like the hardest about post production was definitely probably like we said, it's overexposed,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the hardest part. Is that I tried to fix that. And at the time, I had very little experience with, like, color grading and stuff.
mm-hmm.
Right.
So that kind of made it be a bit weird because, like, it was at the point in, like, my film experience where I knew not fully how to use a camera. So there's a lot of things in there where, like like the aperture is probably higher than it should have been, or like the ISO probably was set something that it shouldn't have been, or I wasn't white balancing it. Yeah, I know this. I wasn't white balancing in between things.
Yeah.
And I know this because the bedroom scene, the living room scene, completely different.
Yeah.
And I know that very prominently now. So every time we shoot something, I'm like, oh, we got white balance it.
Yeah.
At least it was in the right frame rate.
Check the aperture.
It wasn't the white
The ISO.
That's one of the first things I did learn is frame rate, because frame rate's one of those things where like you don't really think about it, but a movie is in 24 frames.
And shutter speed.
And
Don't
shutter
forget
speed.
the shutter speed.
It's the 180 rule. You do 24 frames per second at 50 shutter speed.
If you don't do it, it'll look like a ghost.
Yeah, it's just things. A little. I don't know if this is like a special like thing about it, but it's just okay. So when I was editing it, I was showing people, right? And for some reason, that scene where he's opening the fridge to get the beer out, behind him there was a Mountain Dew bottle just sitting there.
Right.
And it was only sitting there because I forgot to move it, because I was drinking it. And because it was sitting there, some people thought it was prominent and important. And because they thought it was prominent and important, they kept trying to ask about it. So I kept getting annoyed about that. So the Mountain Dew bottle people thought was really important. It wasn't. And I got really annoyed about it because I was like, I just left it there. It's Mountain Dew. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure the Mountain Dew has to do with the depression, because the more dew you drink, the less of a human you are. So.
Sure.
You didn't hear? The Mountain Dew eats your insides.
Anyway, what other questions do you have?
Yeah.
I think the major one would be, what's the ending message of Fresh Air? Like,
yeah.
Go
Other
outside.
than
It's
going
go
outside in
outside.
depression, do you think you could see another meaning to Fresh Air, like
a bigger one,
like a bigger one?
or a theme?
There is like a little theme or a little like theory that some people thought that like the first like beginning sequence where like the place is all dirty, there's a rat and skeleton like skull everywhere, that was all in his head, and that it was just his like perception of it because he was overwhelmed. So like
Interesting.
there could be like a theme or kind of like little like other perception of it where like it really is just your perception of what's going on in life. Like, oh, maybe I just feel this way because, or the things that I'm like interacting with feel this way because of what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
So it's like just separating yourself from like, okay, what's real and what's not, almost.
Okay.
Yeah. The craziest thing I just realized is that besides you, Jermaine was the only one on Fresh Air, and he's the only one that's been in the group from that production since. None of those other people in the production or in the short have been in the company or with us hanging out.
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
people just come and go.
That's just what happens, really.
Wow.
People go their separate ways.
Yeah, Josh is stuck with me forever.
Yeah, ever since we met in that first semester, first class. What was it? Just film 1?
Film appreciation.
No, it was film 1. Because I didn't take film appreciation until like... No, I did take it the same semester, but I had a whole different thing. Because I remember that like I didn't talk to anyone in that class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we know, what happens in film 1 stays.
Stays in film 1.
Stays in film 1.
Yeah.
I do have the script still, and I just like... I was looking at the notes I had for this, and I don't remember this, but apparently everything was supposed to be muted before he takes the breath of fresh air.
Really?
Yeah, I
The
had
whole
no
movie?
idea. I didn't know. I don't remember doing that at all.
I think the ambient sounds give it more of a...
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine watching
Living
it
feeling.
muted.
I think it was just supposed to be that kind of whole like tunnel vision kind
It
of
would
thing where it's
need-
just like,
Yeah.
you're feeling stuck, you're feeling trapped. It's just so funny to like look back at old scripts and like look at what I meant to shoot or meant to do,
What the hell were you doing?
and then it's completely different compared to what I actually did.
Ooh,
Like,
what's that?
these are like this is just my notes from like this is my supposed shot list where it says third scene, fourth scene, and I just wrote like vague like things like I put B-roll of calming views of park, medium shot straight on. Doesn't say of what.
What does it mean?
Bus shot as he smiles.
It's like
Yes.
decoding.
Profile of him taking a breath. And then it says go right through the previous montage locations going
so
through
does he
the other way.
smile and then like a whole bus goes in front of him? Like in
No,
Spider-Man 3?
I think by bust I mean like, you know, from the chest up.
Oh,
because that's
bust
a
shot?
bust. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting way to phrase it.
It's just so funny because like at the same time that these are
Gotta
all
film the bus shot.
Yeah.
these are all vague. Somehow I got them all because I have check marks next to all of them. So apparently I did it.
Alright.
Yeah, we killed it.
So 2 years later, after Fresh Air, is there any final thoughts like of how you feel about it nowadays?
I am proud that I wrote it and finished it, and it is the first like thing I made under my production company, like first film. I made
What
under
is
my
that production company?
Winmore Media. You technically, you've been there since the beginning. You should know.
Just making sure you know.
Okay.
We have to make sure we all still have our memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's as you know, everyone's gone through memory loss lately. Like you don't remember the bear attack of '72.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that.
You weren't.
I've heard of it, but yeah, I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah, that sounds like Dylan.
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
It attacks people. That's all you really need to know.
Anyways, any last questions before we finish this episode off?
Yeah, actually.
Mhm.
When it comes to Fresh Air,
Mm-hmm.
since it's based off of a theme as a moral,
Yeah.
do you have any future ideas of making something similar to Fresh Air?
About depression?
Just about, I guess, like,
I guess it is a short about mental health.
Yeah.
So.
I
Like-
do want to make more content, like films and stuff that have to do with, mental health and talking about like, depression and actually like what it feels like.
Right.
Though I'm probably not going to do as much like on the nose kind of like, just go outside and get a breath of fresh
Yeah.
air. Like I feel like the stuff that I'm like currently thinking about is almost turning the mental health situations into like almost a horror film. Just because I feel like
I mean, that's
Just
what they
have more
feel
fun.
like.
because it feels like that for the people who
Yeah.
have it,
Yeah.
and then like for the people who don't have that, who don't go through it, seeing how like scary it would be, like, oh wait, is that how it actually feels? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kind of like almost kind of feels like it's calling attention to these things that some people don't even ever think about.
Interesting. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. Well, we're close to. Well, actually, we passed the time of ending. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It is the
Okay.
end times, boys.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what we should talk about. Give us some engagement. We'll definitely talk to you in the comments. You can find us on Spotify, sometimes SoundCloud, I believe. And follow our TikTok. We have a TikTok at Planet Grim.
Instagram,
Planet Grim, Twitter,
Mhm.
Planet Grim.
we
Yeah.
got it all, baby.
Yeah, it's all of it.
Locked and loaded.
So if you enjoy this, just keep watching.
Anything to say, Josh?